Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. It is Sunday, May 28th, 2023. Joining me today is Deb. Hi, Deb.
Hi, Doug.
We're going to talk about Serpo again, part 5. I told you this would take 44 shots.
This is a lot of Serpo.
True. People have been listening. Thank you for those. And there's Max. Hi, Max. You get to actually see Max. And we put the camera on because we always have requests to see Max. So... We're going to do Serpo. We've got the Ebens replica provided by MUFON Matt. I think his wife actually was tired of looking at this thing, so now you get to see it.
Thanks. I thought he brought it to show and tell. I know it's going to live here.
He's going to leave it.
What if we have? Is it a 13-year journey?
It's a 13-year journey. So this week I sent in for Project Serpo. I sent in an FOI, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA request to the Defense Intelligence Agency, asking, and I'll read my request. I respectfully request any documentation or photographs you have regarding Project Crystal Night, which is the Serpo project, specifically the 1965 project, which commenced at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. This may also be known as Project Serpo. The project was an exchange program which sent 12 U.S. military personnel to a planet in the Zeta Rituculi star system. And I sent it, and it was sent at about 6:40 Eastern. And at 7:40 the following morning, which means they worked on it. I'm sure they were closed. I don't think they work all night on these things, I'm guessing.
You don't know.
I don't know. I'm guessing they don't. And these things usually take weeks, even sometimes months, but specifically days, they would get an answer. But greetings, Mr. Anthony, at 7:40 the next morning. This letter confirms receipt of your FOIA request for the Defense Intelligence Agency and serves as a final response. The records you seek do not pertain to any current DIA mission, function, or task, and we are unaware of any DIA records responsive to your request. If you have specific information that ties your requested records to the directly to the DIA, please submit a new FOIA request along with that specific information. So it's not them, but as we read along, that's what's been stated. It's a DIA thing. So anyways, for those that I'm just going to do a short, I'm not going to recap every week. Again, this is number 5. Don't put my thing on the counter. But we'll do a little recap. I don't, you listen to episodes and other podcasts, and sometimes they talk about they take half the podcast recapping what they did the last time. I'm not a fan of that, and I'm not going to, but I'll just kind of read. After a survivor was found at the site of a crashed UFO in New Mexico, was allowed to contact his crashed UFO in New Mexico. An EBE was allowed to contact its species, extraterrestrial biological entity. That's what this is. But that isn't. That's actually a blow up.
If that's real.
That's not real.
Yeah. Okay.
The program was launched to the exchange of ambassadors. Eventually, 12 people were sent for 13 years to Serpo. That's 65 to 78. While 3 Ebens, one stayed on the Earth. The name of the exchange program allegedly was Project Crystal Night. It ran from 54 to 78. That's interesting. I thought it was 65 to 7. They must have started. Oh, they started the contact in 54. A first attempt to exchange ambassadors failed in 64. A second attempt in 65 was successful and lasted until 78. So we're here at a Studio B. If you watch all the time, I'm sure there's a lot of people that do.
Before Doug, this was a game room.
This used to be a game room. There used to be a pool table there. I got rid of that. And a pinball machine, and I got rid of that. And everybody's going to say, you're not very fun. We're just not very fun. And
now it's full of
stuff. Full of things like, fossils and things. So anyway, we're going to roll right into it. See if Deb, you can kick it off.
Okay. Since we don't know where Steven Spielberg obtained his information, we don't know how accurate it was. Yeah, it's funny. We talked to Steve.
We didn't.
We didn't talk to Steve.
But I
about
am
this.
watching the making of Close Encounters.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting.
But it was distinctly possible that night had fallen by the time the alien craft had landed, and presumably the planning committee was prepared for that contingency with appropriate lighting, as in the movie. Well, you should bring lights.
We are not told what happened to the first craft. More than likely, it also flew to the correct location. The greetings group consisted of 16 senior government and military officials. Anonymous does not give the identities of these people. Most probably the President Johnson was not among them.
Oh, he didn't show up?
You know, even though he was in charge of the space agency.
The 12 team members waited in a bus nearby. 45 tons of supplies and equipment stood ready to load onto the alien ship. How do you have to bring so much crap?
It's got 10. Well, it was supposed to be 10 years. It ended up to be 13 because I would say, they quote unquote lost track of time because they can convert our time measurements to theirs. So they lost 3 years, which is weird, but I guess
45 tons of crap.
yeah, you got it. So anyway, you have to have stuff,
You have to
you know, and ammunition and guns and things.
A canopy was in place connecting the landing point with the waiting officials.
A contingent of Ebens had disembarked the craft and walked under the canopy. Movie cameras and tape recorders were rolling. The Eben official presented us with some technology gifts. Anonymous says, and we'll just state, the Anonymous is the person that was sending emails in, and then these were converted. And then there's also serpo.org, the website, which there's a lot more information email on this, and we're taking the Project Serpo book and kind of breaking it down, but that's where this comes from. Anonymous says the Ebens had a crude translator device. It appeared to be some sort of microphone with a readout screen. The senior U.S. official was given one of the devices, and the Eben kept the other one.
The official spoke into the device, and the screen showed a printed form of the voice message, both in Eben and in English. It was crude and hard to understand everything that was said. Direct translation was also provided by one of the aliens who was designated as EBE2. See, at least they numbered these correctly. This was a female.
That makes sense. It's the second one.
Who spoke decent English. Oh, wow. She later became an invaluable resource on Serpo.
Yeah, I'm reading up about, I'm pretty far ahead of this in the book, and it's really interesting. EBE2 presented us with the Yellow Book. This was a remarkable and generous gift to the people of Earth and clearly demonstrated the aliens' wish to become our galactic friends. And the book is kind of it's like a 3D, it's not like pages have written, it's 3D and, you know, actually see things.
About the Yellow Book, Anonymous says, it's not exactly a book. Yeah,
Okay.
It is a block of material approximately 2.5 inches thick and transparent in nature and appearance. The reader looks at the transparent surface and suddenly words and pictures appear. It's a TV.
Yeah.
It is an endless series of historical stories and photographs of our universe, the Eben planet, and their former homeworld, and other interesting stories about the universe.
Yeah, it's just like Netflix, you know, you can't share it. Yeah. It also contains a historical story and various accounts about Earth's history and distant past. I am one of the very few people who has actually seen the Yellow Book, and this is, as has been commented by others, it would take a lifetime to read it and another lifetime to understand it. The Yellow Book also describes the Eben involvement with the evolution of human civilizations on Earth. Evidently, as we learn later, there were some controversial claims made in regard and caused some recipients of the information to doubt the veracity of the material, which brought up the possibility that these claims were intended to accomplish a hidden diplomatic agenda. On this subject, Anonymous says, if one reads the Yellow Book and reads between the lines, one would come away with the thought and clear impression that the Ebens had something to do with Jesus Christ, or possibly Jesus was one of them. Oh, that would be crazy.
Sorry, the neighborhood dogs are losing their minds. You did not hear them?
Yeah, I heard that. I'm trying to move this. Okay, go ahead.
If you look at some events that are shown in the Yellow Book, Remember, there are no dates shown in the Yellow Book. You can connect some incidents, such as Fatima, with an Eben landing.
What's that? What's Fatima?
It's Our Lady of Fatima.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. My Catholic school was a long time ago.
You're more familiar with religion than I am.
Yeah. Okay. We later learned it was EBE2 who had translated the book into English. Wasn't she a helpful little EBE?
She is. She's awesome. The Ebens informed us at the time that they had reconsidered the timing of the exchange program and wished to reschedule it for a later date. They preferred to only retrieve the bodies of their dead compatriots and on this trip and return to Earth in July 6th of 1965 to accomplish the exchange of personnel.
Oh, so this was just a visit?
Yeah, and after we packed, you know how that works.
We are packed.
Yeah, you know how it is. You know, you're ready for a trip. You're on the road. You're getting ready to fly out, and somebody calls you and tells you that they're not ready.
Don't come. Turn around. There's cursing when that happens. This posed an enormous, logistical
Then later on, they
us.
call you and they want you to come down. You say no because of that, and then they get mad.
Okay, we're not going to rehash this whole thing now. Back to Serpo. This posed an enormous logistical problem for us since all the equipment and supplies would now have to be warehoused somewhere, and we would have to keep the team motivated and in a highly secure facility for another year. Oh, the poor people. Oh, my God.
There were also possible political ramifications that could change our willingness to continue with the program if the Johnson administration decided to cancel it.
The aliens took the bodies of the 9 Ebens who had died in the 2 Roswell crashes, as well as the body of EBE-1 on board. We had performed autopsies on some of the bodies.
Yay.
The remains had been kept at Los Alamos Laboratories in a special state-of-the-art cryogenic facility. That doesn't sound good. The visit lasted about 4 hours. The film and audio recordings of the entire event have been stored in a vault at Bolling Air Force Base in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, how fun is that? Later on, I'll give you one of our people died on the way, and they
mutilated us?
They did this very similar thing to him, and we got mad.
We would.
It's like you don't remember that we just did the same thing.
Me that did that though.
The times. I didn't mean to. You.
But I mean, this is our friend. This is important. That's,
Yeah, that was just some. Yeah, okay. So the time selected for the return visit was July 16th, 1965. It was agreed at this time the landing location would be the northern section of the Nevada test site. About this choice, Anonymous says, planners did not wish to keep the same location for fear that something might leak. Once again, the extreme security concern became evident. So they actually left at Area 51. At Nevada test site, I believe, is Area 51. So they didn't. So maybe I gave the wrong information to the DIA. So they said, that's not that.
Oh, so
we don't have anything there.
Change your request.
So now I got to change the request to Area 50, Nevada test site.
There you go. The team members were returned to their lockup at Fort Leavenworth for about 1 month. Then they were sent back to Camp Peary to hone their original training and to learn some new skills. This gave them all, but especially the linguists, a chance to improve their ability to understand and speak the Eben language.
The linguists were now able to achieve a passable fluency with the high-pitched sing-song speech. Oh, you probably wouldn't like it.
I don't go in there.
But the other team members struggled with the bizarre language.
As before at Camp Peary, the 12 team members remained isolated in their own little community within the larger CIA training facility and did not communicate with anyone other than their trainers.
This period coincided with the first year of the Vietnam War, in which the CIA Special Operations Group played an important role. So the camp must have been a very busy place.
I guess so.
While the team was there.
In April of 65, they were sent back to jail again at Fort Leavenworth to wait out their final 3 months. How miserable for these people. By this time, they must have begun to feel like real prisoners and probably wondered What strange political concerns could have justified such harsh treatment?
It is likely that the team morale must have then reached an all-time low. Yeah, I would think so.
There he
Although
goes.
the mounting excitement and anticipation of the rapidly approaching departure date probably helped to offset their depression.
I doubt it. I mean, just, you've been shuffled around for so long.
Yeah.
The two Ebens shuttles returned right on schedule on July 16th, 1965. This time they landed at the northern section of the Nevada test site as planned. The diplomatic niceties having been attended to in their previous visit, this was strictly a working meeting. Yeah, let me know, chit-chat.
We did, yeah, we already did that other stuff now. The 12 team members waited in a bus as before, and the military vans were poised to unload their massive cargo, which was 90,500 pounds of supplies, equipment, and vehicles. I think there's an actual list in the book of everything they took.
Wow. Well, you have to
They
have a
took
list.
like motorcycles and jeeps. And do
don't-
they have gas there? I don't know how those
If you
things would
don't
run.
have a list, you'll forget something.
Hopefully they brought some gasoline. I think we can safely assume that there had been extensive communications between Los Alamos and Serpo in the intervening year to refine the arrangements. But Anonymous makes no reference to this. The team boarded the Ebens shuttlecraft, and the cargo was loaded by military personnel onto one of the craft.
The massive size of the ship can be... can I read the rest of my thing?
Sorry, shut you out.
The massive size of the ship can be appreciated when we learn that the entire cargo fit into the single level of the three-level craft! Exclamation point. The lone Eben ambassador disembarked from the shuttle and was taken away in a military vehicle. He was then sent to the alien facility at Los Alamos Laboratories.
How fun. I don't think he had it as good as how we...
You don't think?
No. I doubt
He's
it.
all alone, how sad.
He has a handler, but we'll talk about that
Yeah,
later.
but none of his people.
Understandably, the team had no intention of allowing the rigid protocols of the planners to infect their ranks by referring to each other robotically by three-digit numbers.
207.
199. They quickly adopted suitable nicknames for each other, but never used their real names. They did, however, use the number names for more formal and written communication.
Oh, here we go. The team commander, an Air Force colonel, became skipper. Yeah, everybody wants... Yeah. The two doctors were Doc 1 and Doc 2. The pilots were Sky King and Flash Gordon. I'm sorry, not Flash.
Did you watch Sky King when you were younger?
No.
I think there's a dog involved, I'm not sure.
Anonymous doesn't supply the other nicknames.
A comment sent to the Serpo website in March 2006 points out an interesting reference that adds authenticity to the Serpo story. He reminds us that in the golden days of radio, Sky King, I don't think I listened to it on the radio either, was a very popular kids series along with The Lone Ranger, The Green Hornet, and many others. Sky King ran on the radio from 46 to 54, and then a TV version was produced and shown from 51 to 59. Well, I wouldn't have seen it unless it was reruns, I suppose.
The TV show reruns were telecast on Saturday afternoons up until 1966. So the show was still on television when the team departed in July of 1965. The comment contributor says, most people today have either never heard of Sky King or have long forgotten about him.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it, though. However, it wouldn't be surprising that a young pilot in 1965 would have adopted the nickname Sky King, a pilot who was about 35 when the mission departed, who would have been an impressionable teenager in the 50s and probably watched the TV show.
Is this the one with the mannequins?
No.
That's... Isn't
I
that Sky
know.
King
I don't
with the
think
little
so.
people, the little
No, that's Fireball XL5.
No, there's another.
But it was, you're talking about the one, I don't know if the Fireball XL5.
With the little puppets.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of those
I thought
shows.
that was Sky King.
No, that was Davy and Goliath.
No, there was a pilot.
Gumby and Pokey.
No. I saw this. God. Because then South Park took
I
it and
think
did
it had a
that.
picture, and there was a picture of it in the book, and it was real people.
Yeah,
by a
we're
Cessna.
looking this up when this is
Okay,
over.
we'll check it out.
There's going to be some research done.
That's a very important part of this.
Yes. If he was 40, he probably lay on the living room carpet like millions of other kids of that era, glued to the radio when Sky King came over the airwaves. Could that young boy ever in his wildest dreams have imagined they would one day be among the first Earthlings to depart the Earth to travel to a distant star system?
Yeah, the team commander kept a diary from the first moment of the mission. Anonymous supplied the following account of the first day from the diary. Here for posterity is the skipper's exact entry for those first scary moments of the historic mission. Anonymous doesn't explain the acronyms, but we can be quite certain that M refers to mission, in each case an MTC, which the MTC and MVC, mission training coordinator, and mission MVC, mission voyage coordinator. You're going to see those throughout, so that's what these mean when you see them. Who we find out later does not speak English, the mission voyage coordinator, very well and travels with the team. Consequently, he must have been an Eben.
Day 1. We are ready. Hard to think we finally made it. Team is motivated and calm. Final briefing by MTC and MTB. Cargo packed in the EBE craft. Might have some problems with guns. We'll be talking to the MVC 899, the security officer, and 203, assistant team commander. We'll have overall charge of weapons. No sync system, or we don't know about them.
Yeah, they only took, for each pistol, I don't know how many they brought, but for each pistol, I imagine one for each person. They only brought 100 rounds, and they had rifles or a couple hundred rounds. They didn't bring very much ammo. It weighs a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Everything moving smoothly. 754. The doctors will give each member a final check before boarding. We loaded everything, and it fits.
It fits.
But we have to transfer all of it to a bigger ship once we get to the rendezvous point. Really excited about this. No reservations by anyone.
MTC asked all members to make final decision. The team all said go. We go. Interior of EBE craft is big. There are 3 levels. This is different than the one we trained on. I think that was a scout craft. This one is a shuttlecraft.
We stored the cargo in the lower level. We will sit in the center level, and the crew will sit in the upper level. Strange looking walls. They seem to be dimensional. There are 3 stations. 4 of us will sit in each station. No seats, just benches. We wouldn't fit in those small crew seats. I hope they have seatbelts. I mean, you should wear your seatbelt.
You should. The MVC says we don't need anything special. No O2, no helmets. Don't know what to do with them. Okay, final checks. MTC gave us final words. One prayer said.
Well, that's what he actually wrote.
One praise said.
Yeah, they'll talk about that.
Okay. We board the EBE craft. 475, which is linguist number 2, is really nervous. 700, that would be a doctor. We'll watch him. The hatch is closed. No windows. We can't see out. Oh, you'd love that.
Oh, I wouldn't love that. Everyone is seated in their respective seats on the bench. No retention harnesses. Okay, well, a bar across. Okay, it's like a ride. It's got a bar.
We're at a theme park now.
The craft is starting engine, or what they call energy thrusters. Seems like we are moving, but nothing is happening inside. Still able to write this. Really dizzy now. 102 sitting next to me, and he is faint. Something feels really funny. Have to rewrite this because I can't think straight.
Ooh, must be a good ride. When the commander says, we loaded everything and it fits, it may be the actual loading was done by an Air Force ground crew, since it doesn't seem appropriate that this highly trained team would be expected to perform such arduous labor. That is, loading 90,500 pounds of equipment and supplies. Yeah. Although judging from the way I've been treated thus far, it wouldn't necessarily be out of the question. Yeah, sit in jail for a while. You'd be glad to move supplies. In fact, that may be very well what happens, since a ground crew would have to have had very high security clearances. So they're going to have to transfer this to another ship.
Yeah.
So they're going to be loading stuff at some point in time.
Yeah, well, I think the Ebens do it once they get to the other ship.
Well, that's nice of them.
The statement one pray said was probably meant to be one prayer said, and would seem to accord with the chapel scene in Close Encounters, where the clergyman delivers a final prayer to the team and refers to them as pilgrims. Yeah, at the end of, we'll have to watch that. At the end, they have these guys loading onto the ship.
I think the last time I saw this was at the theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, it'd be like new to you.
Probably. Since the commander says still able to write this, it appears that at this stage his diary was handwritten, although we learn later that the diaries of all the other team members were recorded on cassette tape. Eventually, the commander also reverted to voice recording. His pencil wore down after 13 years.
Yeah, they probably did send pencils. In the 11th and 12th emails, Anonymous sent a verbatim description of the entire trip, written by the team commander in his diary. So we have all the details of the team experience from the start of the journey until they landed on Serpo. We probably won't be stating every word of everything, but
please no.
Have a good.
Nobody wants to read that.
44 chapters, 44 installments.
Interspersed with author commentary, we present a first-hand account of this amazing voyage of 40 light years, or 400 trillion kilometers, which would be 240 trillion miles, through interstellar space. It lasted only 10 months. That means they traveled at about 40 times the speed of light. It would be impossible to achieve that velocity with any known means of propulsion, no matter how exotic.
I'm glad that they did the conversion from kilometers to miles. So I don't have to get my calculator out because I can't. Did you have to do the metric system when you were in high school?
Yeah, in high school, about my freshman, sophomore year, they tried to teach us the metric system. And I mean, tried.
How did you do?
I don't care.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because we
care.
had in front of the school was a long street, and it actually marked where the kilometer was from the main boulevard, so that you could see. It's weird. It was weird. I don't know. I had a little trouble with it.
Well, remember we were supposed to convert.
Yeah, that's why they said you're going to be using this.
Yeah, they tried that with us too, but. That was at St. Francis, and you tell these, Catholic girls that they have to learn this. They just,
no,
it's not happening. I think somebody in that school probably decided it wasn't going to happen.
I had a very mean teacher too about it. He just didn't know. I said, I just don't get it. And it should be easy. Well, we won't go into it anyway. The only explanation for this is time travel, as we know from the work of Albert Einstein and Hermann Minkowski. Time is the fourth dimension of space. So we must now speak of the space-time continuum. The time dimension is sometimes referred to as the time domain.
The Ebens have obviously developed the technology to travel in the time domain. Apparently, there are portals to this domain at known points in the cosmos. These are now called wormholes. Travel through a traversable wormhole is really travel through time and is faster than the speed of light. I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
However, it takes time and precise stellar navigation to go to and from the wormholes, and this accounts for 10 months.
See, there's really a hidden agenda for me here to teach you about all this, all these
how to
science.
head for a wormhole, hang a left.
Well, it just takes you. It's kind of like a ride. The team commander. Well, you've seen Stargate, right? Yeah. The team commander is evidently speaking of travel through the wormhole when he says in his diary, "We all feel better once the craft gets out of the time wave," as he calls it, referring to an alien. I don't know. It was dark, but we could make out the wavy lines. Some sort of distortion in time. We must be moving faster than light speed, but we can't see anything out the window.
It is very interesting that the commander was able to contemplate the possibility of traveling faster than light speed at that time. In 1965, we were all not as aware of that, since scientifically it was considered impossible based on the Einsteinian determination.
Yeah, and I don't know how this works with, the theory is that you go to this planet, you spent 13 years there, you come back, and people have aged and are dead. Mm-hmm. By the time you get back, because you have a real short time period.
So these people,
because of this travel,
yeah.
But I don't know how it really how it equates to here. Now, it's not unusual for sci-fi authors and scientists to speak of superluminal speed. And we're not going to go into them for more information,
No.
But there were questions sent to the website.
Day 1, entry number 2. We made it to the rendezvous craft. We don't know where we are, but it seemed like we all fainted or were really confused during this trip. According to my wristwatch, it took about 6 hours, or maybe more. Is there a dog down there?
I was wondering if he was here.
We left at 13:25, and it's now 1939. Not sure what day. We flew into the big ship. We are standing in a bay or something. There are many EBEs helping us.
They seem to understand we are confused. The cargo was offloaded in one big move. The platform containing the cargo was moved without unloading the individual cargo.
Just floated it over there?
Yeah, the ship looks like the inside of a really big building. The ceiling is about 100 feet high in this area of the ship. So this thing's gigantic. Yeah, so they'd probably use anti-gravity, something to do that.
We are being moved into another part of the ship. We moved to another room or area. What a big ship. I just can't describe how big this is. It took us about 15 minutes to walk to our area. Seems like it is something special for us. The chairs are bigger, but there are only 10 of them. Okay, I guess 203 and myself will sit in a different location above these seats. We are moved by some sort of elevator, but I can't understand how it worked.
Well, that's probably typical. If you're even in an elevator, you sometimes don't know how it works, even here.
I don't really care. I just want to know that it works.
I just know that I get up there, and I don't have to use the stairs. Everyone is hungry. We have our backpacks containing some sea rats.
Sea rats.
Oh, those are awesome.
Yeah.
They used to have cigarettes back, even when I'm kind of dating myself, but the sea rations, they would have
please don't smoke
like
in
a
space.
4-pack of cigarettes in there.
That's funny.
Sea rats that I guess we eat now, but must ask the MVC. I can't find him, and we can't communicate with the two EBEs here. They're just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
If you're hungry, eat. Don't ask me your problem. I have no problem.
They seem to be real nice. 420.
420.
420, the linguist, will try to use his language skills. Almost funny. Sounds like a screaming match. We just use sign language indicating we want to eat.
Well, every American knows if people don't speak English, you just have to talk louder. And they will eventually understand what you're saying.
That's right.
One of the EBE brought us a container with something in it. Doesn't look good, but I think it's their food. Looks like mush or oatmeal. Back at Leavenworth eating the grits. $8.99 will taste it. Oh, sure.
You eat it. His real name's Mikey.
$8.99 says it tastes like paper.
Oh, good.
When's the last time you ate paper? Think we will all stick to sea rats. MVC finally showed up. Told us we will begin trip soon. Two missiles. 2 missiles.
Means minutes.
Think he means minutes, but don't really know. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to eat before leaving.
Yeah.
Especially, you ate paper. You should be fine.
We don't feel any weightlessness, and we don't feel dizzy, but we don't know what to expect from this point on. They are indicating we must sit in the chairs.
Sit in your chair.
So they have some chairs.
Yeah, we said they have 10 chairs, 12 people. The second entry by the team commander on day 1 describes the arrival at the rendezvous craft, which I'll now refer to as the mothership. That's Joe Rogan's new comedy.
Oh, his new comedy store?
Yeah, that's what he
Comedy
named it.
club?
Yeah. And the beginning of the actual star voyage. Mothership is appropriate designation since we learned later that it carried multiple smaller ships.
We learned from this that the Ebens have obviously developed a type of anti-gravity technology that allows them to cancel out the weight of massive objects so that they can be easily pushed into another position. There's no other explanation for how they were able to offload 45 tons of equipment from the shuttlecraft to the mothership so quickly and effortlessly.
The diary tells us this was done in one big move without taking the individual items off the platform. So that means the platform itself was moved. Yeah, I get that. It's surprising that the team commander didn't marvel at that. But he kind of did. A platform holding 3 Jeeps, 10 motorcycles, 6 tractors, 8 power generations, and much more had to be very large.
Yeah, and all these things take gas. So did they bring gas with them?
I know, you're stuck on the whole fuel thing, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm hung up on that because you got to the other planet. It's like, okay, how do you run these things? And you're eventually going to run out.
Well,
unless they convert them to their other technology.
Hopefully they had dinosaurs on their planet. So they have fossil fuels.
Yeah. We learned in the previous chapter, in the first entry for day 1 in the team commander's diary, that the cargo was loaded onto the Ebens shuttlecraft by the team itself or by a ground crew. In that entry, the TC said, okay, we loaded everything and it fits, but we have to transfer all of it to the bigger ship once we get to the rendezvous point.
We stored the cargo in lower levels, so it appears the team loaded all the supplies, equipment, and vehicles directly onto a single movable platform within the first level of the Ebens shuttlecraft.
Yeah, because it was all placed on one platform, the Ebens were able to just move the loaded platform onto the mothership. So, however they did that. These entries in the skipper's diary settle once and for all the speculation about how the pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge, and all the other massive ancient megalithic archaeological sites were built. If the Ebens have this weightless technology, we can reasonably assume that it is commonly used throughout the galaxy, and that the ancient astronauts knew all about it.
So they're saying the Ebens built the pyramids?
Yeah, the Ebens, or the technology was there, some extraterrestrial influence.
Well, that's what Maggie wants to talk to you about.
But yeah, Maggie will be joining us at some point.
She's got all kinds of...
Maybe we'll do the 3 of us, and then she can take the chair, cow chair.
That's nice. She's not going to sit back there. The big question now is, was the secret shared with us? If so, that means we have probably had this capability since 1965. It absolutely boggles the mind to realize that this could mean our earthly industries if this technology was given to them. It'd be much easier to move your furniture.
Well, there's that, and then there's, allegedly coming up in June, I talked to you about this, there's going to be Stephen Greer was speaking, and he said that there's going to be a big meeting and everything is going to be, well, everything won't be explained, but one of the highlights of the meeting was that he was talking about will be discussed that if there was a UFO flying saucer that crashed into a mountain, and it's so big that they couldn't move it, so they just buried it. And that this guy that's going to speak is going to say where it is. And there's going to be more stories just like that. Doug Wake Proving Grounds, and there's supposed to be, he also discusses someone's going to talk about how there's 1,300 square miles under Dugway of a facility, underground facility, and that there's odd things going on down there. So I don't know. I can't wait. I think we should just watch YouTube the whole weekend. What do you think? Yay. Certainly, we could do away with cranes. Skyscrapers could be built in about half the time. The building materials could be floated up to each floor in minutes. We could conceivably have floating towns and cities. Vehicles would no longer need roadways and could zip along above the streets.
No danger there.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem is what Greer is saying that there's on whole, and this is something that people that discuss like me and move on. They talk about that there's our government, and then there's another government above that's separate, that's controlling all that, and they don't allow our quote unquote government to be privy to what's going on with this technology. You don't believe that, do you?
Special government.
I don't know.
If this information lies buried somewhere in Air Force vaults, then we can begin to appreciate the magnitude of the social, technological, and industrial revolutions that will occur once these secrets are revealed.
Well, and I watched a show from, I don't know if I told you, I watched this black and white movie while I was barbecuing over a couple.
Thank God we have more than one television in this house.
Yeah, we definitely have more than one television. So it was about how we got in touch with Mars via radio, and then it wasn't actually radio; it was like Morse code, and then they stated that in a nutshell that they said, how long do you live? And they said 300 years. And it's all of a sudden, the economy started to implode because, they were able to, they had all this technology so that, you won't need gas anymore. I mean, this is part of the discussion of why this is a problem, letting this kind of technology out, is that if you don't need gas, I mean, a lot of this, a lot of our nation is based upon, petroleum. And, what would happen to those companies if you didn't need them anymore? You literally wouldn't need them anymore.
That's a lot of money not being exchanged anymore.
Yeah, and but in this movie, the economy just crashed. They went backwards, back into the old times, and it was weird to think about how they thought about that back then. The team suffered considerable discomfort during the first part of the journey, as described in the team commander's Day 2 entry. I'm not sure just how long we were in the containers. We sat in the chairs and a clear container was placed over us. It was placed over us and the chair. We were isolated in the bubble or sphere, so you're just sitting in there.
Just in your little bubble.
They didn't have any tablets to look at or anything.
We could breathe okay and could see out, but we really felt dizzy and confused. I think I fell asleep or fainted. I think this is another day, but my watch says 1 hour since we sat. But I think it's the next day. Our time instruments are located in our backpacks, which are stored in another area of this room. We are still in these spheres, but it seems.
899 figured out how to get out because he's standing up.
Oh.
He opened my sphere. Well, you better make sure that you're supposed to be out of that thing.
They put you in there for a reason.
Yeah, but you wouldn't sit in there either. I could just see you.
I don't.
I'm not sitting in here.
When's the last time you saw me sit still?
I'm going to build one of those.
Yeah.
Not sure if we should be out of this thing. 899 said an EBE came in and looked at us and left.
Stupid people.
Other team members sleeping. 899 and myself walking around the room. I retrieved the time instruments. Seems like we have been traveling about 24 hours or so. No windows to see. Originally, we were told it would take about 270 of our days. That's about 10 months, right? Okay, EBE came in and pointed to the chairs. Mm-hmm. I guess it's time to go back and get in them. Get back in your chair. Back in your chair.
The following entry in the team commander's diary has no day associated with it and seems to be another description of Day 2, since it gives more details of that first travel day on the mothership. But at this point, they are all well along in the journey. The commander is so disoriented that he doesn't realize he has already written about this first day of travel and covers much of the same ground. He apparently has no memory of his previous diary entry. Well, you can't go back and read it?
He's just disoriented. He doesn't really realize that he already wrote it. I guess what they're trying to...
Flip back a page.
You don't want to recap. We talked about this in the beginning. In this section, we learn that one man is missing. I dreamt of Earth. And this is the commander. I really had some vivid dreams of Colorado, the mountains, the snow, and my family. It was as if I was really there. I had no worries and never thought of my situation inside the foreign spaceship. Then I awoke. I was confused and disoriented. I was in a bowl. Well, it looked like a bowl to me. I don't remember how I got there.
Well, like in a
this
bowl,
doesn't sound that fun at all.
Like you're getting marinated, or
there's no liquid. I think they're just laying in there.
What kind of bowl? My first thought was to my crew. I pushed open the top of the
crock pot.
I pushed open the top of this glass bowl, and it opened. I heard a hissing sound. Oh, he's in Tupperware.
Oh no!
I heard a hissing sound coming from the seams or seals. I looked around and saw I was inside a room, not a room I remember. But all of us were inside these glass bowls.
He is a little bit disoriented. All the crew members were asleep. I climbed out and realized my legs were really sore. But I climbed out and went to each glass bowl and checked on the crew. I found only 11 of us. Somebody is missing, but who? I'm so confused. I'm also very thirsty. I can't find any of those water bottles. We had some, but I can't find any. My eyes are really having a problem focusing. You can relate to that.
I can, yeah.
But I'm writing this in my log. I have to record everything. I found number He is alive. Who is missing?
I have to look at each bowl. The room is large. The ceiling looks like a bed mattress. Oh, you're in a padded room. That's not good.
Yeah.
The walls of this
We're
room
in a
are
nut house.
soft. Not very much in this room, except for the bowls and some tubes running from the bowls to the floor. I see lights flashing on the bottom of each bowl. There are bright lights on the ceiling. Inside the mattresses or something. I can't open the bowls. I've tried everything. I must get some help from the Ebens. I found a door, but it won't open.
Well,
You are so screwed.
yeah, you guys are in jail again. I can't remember how we opened the other doors. How long have we been in these bowls? I can't seem to remember much. Again, this is the commander in his diary. His log. Maybe traveling in space causes problems with a person's mind. They told us this during the training, but we never had anyone travel this far in space before. We are specimens. Yeah, they're in the petri dish of space. Maybe I should go back into the bowl. Maybe I awoke too early. My wristwatch says it's 1,800 hours. But what day, what month, what year? How long have I been asleep?
The floor seems to be soft, with wires running in a crisscross pattern. I see some type of television screen in the corner of the room. I think it might monitor the other bowls. I can't read anything on the screen because it is in Eben language. I do make out lines, maybe health monitoring lines on the screen. I hope that means everyone is breathing and is alive. But we are missing one man. Did I forget something? Did someone die? I can't remember. I have some type of rash on my hands.
Oh, no.
A real burning sensation.
Something for that.
Maybe it is radiation burns
Neosporin.
from something. But where are the radiation monitors we had in our packs? Where are our survival packs? I can't find anything. I am returning to the bowl. I am lying down. I will stop making entries in this diary. Wow, that was
And
a
in
lot.
the next entry, since I am not sure of which day it is, I won't state a day as to my entry. I'll just say entry. We are all sick, dizzy, and with upset stomachs. Did they all eat it's a sea rat. You should have ate their food.
They ate that damn paper.
700 and 750. See, they already know what's going to make us sick and what isn't.
Yeah.
700 and 754 gave us medicine to settle our stomachs. A little Pepto-Bismol. But we really feel bad. We seem unable to focus our eyes and seem to not know which way to turn up or down and don't know the way to sit down. Really bad feeling. Medicine helps a little. We were able to eat a little. 700 and 754 tell us to eat and drink the water we brought along with what we brought along. We are doing that and feel a little better, but can't concentrate on anything. So I can't write anymore right now. I just can't.
Just can't. Feel a little better. EBEs came in and did something to the room. All seems clear, and we are not so confused.
Oh, so you just now did that?
They adjusted the static button on the room, turned a knob.
They turned the gas down.
Here you go. Get some air.
They turned the gas down that they were giving him to make him sleep.
Yeah. They're much better when they're asleep. It all seems clear, and we are not so confused and dizzy. We ate again and drink more water. Feeling a lot better. We are out of sphere, but must stay in them at certain times. These people, the EBs, just don't want to deal with you.
No, just get to the planet so we don't have to mess around with these people anymore.
EBE showed us a series of lights above the entry panel. Green, red, and white lights. If the light is red, we must sit in the sphere. If the light is white, we are okay. EBE never explained the green light.
You didn't ask, so what does that one mean?
What about the green? Maybe that isn't good.
They're just like, I don't know.
We have no idea what day it is, only that it is 2319. Our day recorder isn't working very well according to 633. That would be science number 1. He thinks we have been going for 10 days, but not really sure.
We've been confined to this room for the entire time. I think this room was made for us and we are safe in this room. Maybe it wouldn't be wise to leave it. No weightlessness. Don't know how they do it. Yeah, well, the Ebens wander in and out. So, I'd be like, we can't. Can you get us out of this room?
No, stay in your room.
But we do feel a little lightheaded when we walk. The gas is still working. Mm-hmm. Seems room is pressurized. Our ears are popping a lot. we have to sit in this room for 270 days, we will really be bored. You wouldn't like that at all, would you?
I'd be jogging the perimeter.
We can't really do much. All our equipment is packed away. We have our backpacks, but they only contain a few items. Hopefully a toothbrush and toothpaste. We want to clean up but can't find a bathroom except the containers we are using to relieve ourselves.
Oh.
Uh-huh. There are small metal containers that are emptied by the EBE every now and then.
Ew.
EBE brings us our food, their food. Brings us food, which is their food. We tried it, and it tastes like paper, just like they said. Really no taste, but maybe it's something special for space travel. 700 is eating it. He seems okay, but it's upsetting his bowels.
Oh, great. That's what you need in space.
Their water is milky looking, but tastes like apples. Strange.
Wow. All right. It's been a long time since I've made an entry. We are guessing we have been on the ship for 25 days, but we might be off by 5 days. We were locked into our sphere for a long period of time. We had to leave in order to relieve ourselves, and finally were able to open the sphere. But when we did, we all got sick, really dizzy, confused, and some couldn't walk. We had trouble urinating and moving our bowels. 770-54 who ate the EB food didn't seem to be as sick as us.
See, they should have eaten the food.
Eat the paper.
They treated us with medicine. EBE came in and pointed a bluish light on our heads. We felt better, much better after this. But pointed to the chairs, and we figured we must get back into them.
Get your chair.
We showed him our waste containers. You want to empty that, buddy? And pointed to the chairs in a confused manner. He understands, and then left the room. EBE came back with the small containers we could place inside the sphere. He also brought in small jugs of milky liquid and made a motion for us to drink it. Don't get those confused with those containers.
Which container?
So we went back into the sphere and just sat there with the waste containers and the jug of milky stuff. Gross. We drank that and seemed to be better, except for 518, the biologist, who seemed to be sick. But we were cautioned to stay inside the sphere.
Oh my God, I'm tired of this sphere. We learn now that the alien craft exited the time domain at approximately the halfway point. The team members now felt much better and were able to move freely about the ship and to explore and ask questions. Apparently, the team members felt sick and dizzy only when traveling through the time domain. This is important information for NASA and for future manned space probes from Earth.
Certainly our bioscientists will be able to develop some sort of medication to counter this problem. Maybe Mother Sill's seasick pills would do the... I've never heard of that. Have you heard of that?
No.
Maybe that's his mom. I don't know. The halfway point in the journey still leaves about 20 light years or 200 trillion kilometers to go. How many miles is that? It appears that the Ebens travel through space using a very advanced onboard propulsion. We learn here that they may have been using antimatter technology.
There's another entry. I don't have any idea how long we stayed in that sphere this time, but EBE came in and made a motion for us to come out. Get out, get out, get out.
Get out now.
We were able to move around without being dizzy or sick. EBE even allowed us to leave the room. We walked along a very narrow hallway for a long period of time, maybe 20 minutes. We then got into some sort of elevator, which moved fast because we could feel the motion.
We came out into a very large room that contained many Ebens sitting in seats. Maybe this is the control center. Our escort made a motion to go into the room. We could see control panels which contained many lights. There were 4 different stations containing 6 Ebens each. They were in levels. The top level inside this room contained just one seat, the commander. That's me. I'm over all you guys. Mm-hmm. One Eben was sitting in that chair. We figured it must be the pilot or commander. He seemed busy with an instrument panel.
There were many television screens, but they all showed Eben language and a series of lines, both vertical and horizontal, maybe some sort of graph. We were able to wander around without any Eben bothering us. 633 and 661 were really interested in this. 633 seemed better. There was one window. We could not see anything. Well, it was dark, but we could make out wavy lines, maybe some sort of distortion in time. We must be moving faster than light speed, but we can't see anything out the window.
MVC finally arrived. He explains in broken English that we are halfway to the home planet. Where did all this time go? Because it was like 10 months. So this has been 5 months.
Yeah, he doesn't write well. I don't.
Everything is functioning properly, and we all will feel better once the craft gets out of this time wave, as he calls it. Maybe it isn't actually 10 months. I don't know. It's weird. MVC says we can walk around any part of the ship, but we must stay together. We must be shown how to operate the movement centers. We are thinking he is referring to the elevators. It seems simple, just placing your hand over one of the operating lights, white and red. White moves it, and red stops it.
Very good. We hear some type of ringing sound, but MVC says it is only space sounds. What the hell are space sounds? Whatever he means by that. We were able to walk around the ship, but it's so large it's difficult to understand how such a large ship can move so fast. 633 wants to see the engines. MVC takes 4 of us.
Open the hood up. What do you got under there?
MVC takes 4 of us to the engine room, or whatever they wish to call the room. It contains large, very large metal containers. Oh, it's your poop. They're in a circle with the ends.
You just launch that into space.
With the ends of each pointing into the center. Many pipes or some sort of large tubes connects them. In the center of these containers is copper-colored coil, or something looking like coil. There's a bright light being shined from a point above into the center of the coil. We hear a very dull hum, but no major loud sound. 661 thinks it is a negative matter versus positive matter system. Kind of sounds like did you ever read the Stephen King, The Tommyknockers?
No.
No, okay.
Do they have positive and negative?
It's a machine type of thing that, it's quite...
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, it's,
It's a movie?
Probably.
Check that out.
I only read the book.
We know that 661 was a scientist. His speculation that perhaps the Ebens were using some sort of antimatter propulsion at the time was amazing, since that possibly wasn't entertained then, even in classified scientific ranks, which means back on Earth. This team was well chosen, and all were apparently highly intelligent and forward-thinking. Now we have learned from Bob Lazar, who worked on reverse engineering alien craft at Area 51 in the 80s, that the aliens used antimatter reactions to power their craft, utilizing a super heavy substance called element 115, an element not found on Earth.
Since Lazar's revelation, scientists at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, in collaboration with Russian scientists in Dubna, Russia, have been able to create element 115 by bombarding other more stable elements, and have also now created even heavier atoms. Element 116 and element 118. All these atoms are very unstable and have short half-lives, but are highly radioactive. Element 115 has been assigned the symbol UUP and named unupentium. All these elements have now been added to the periodic table.
All right, it's been about an hour now.
Okay.
That went quickly.
That was fast.
So, we'll be continuing to... we're not quite through the voyage yet, but I think they're just about there.
We got to get them there.
And we got to get them to the planet. It gets it's a really interesting story. I'm glad I can see that people are following along. I can see by the downloads from each episode. Thank you very much, by the way, everyone. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Check us out. Check out our website, alienprobe.net, has all our episodes on there. Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Like and subscribe to YouTube at Alien Probe Podcast. You can see our lovely faces and our new digs. Well, not our new digs, but our other digs. And see Debbie's smiling face. I could hardly
Can't
get
even
that
say
out.
that.
Thank you, Deb, for joining me again.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time.